Welcome back again, everyone, to this week's edition of Chalk Talk with Brett Gordon, the head coach of the LaSalle Explorers. And this week's episode and future episodes is brought to you by the class of 1998 12th Man Club. And Brett, I think we have to start right there because this is a group of your buddies that have supported you through the years and are just so darn excited to see you running the program. So that's my first question. Tell me about that group of guys that makes up the newly formed class of 1998 12th Man Club and what they mean to you.
Yeah, there's been a lot of excitement, as you mentioned, around the program this year. I think it's resonated with a lot of guys around my time that I've had a chance to know over the years and have a lot of close friendships with. I think this season, because of myself being the head coach now, and some of them in certain cases have children of their own now, coming of age and paying a lot more closer attention to LaSalle. It's been great to have all that support. We have our group text chain that goes on and on all week long. As probably no surprise to them, but I've told them I've had to silence it on my end just because I wouldn't get anything done during the day with all the back and forth talking LaSalle football. But it's very exciting. Appreciate certainly all their support as well as all the alumni that have kind of been re-engaged this year with all the excitement due to the great job the players are doing.
Players have done a great job, and another notch in the belt, another victory this past weekend against Father Judge. You guys were in control from the beginning and got to a running clock by halftime. I'll just ask you that. What went well against Father Judge, and what were your main takeaways from another shutout victory?
Yeah, so I try to, when I assess a game, either in game or post game, I try to take an objective look, regardless of the opponent and the score. Um, Candidly, I wasn't all that happy with the game Saturday, particularly in the first half. I thought we made some uncharacteristic errors. There was some things really in all three phases that I didn't think we were on the top of our game. One of the things we talk about all week is making sure that we're getting better week to week. And I told the team this after the game, and I told the team this yesterday in our team meeting. I did not think that we were a better team Sunday than we were going into the game on Saturday. And trying to explain that to a bunch of 16, 17-year-olds who just won the game 42 to nothing can sometimes be difficult to do. But I saw a couple areas where I thought we were reverting back to, potentially some bad habits of years past. And it's a constant reminder that as we do change the culture of the program, as we continue to develop who we are and our identity, not only for this year's team, but what type of program we want to be, it doesn't happen overnight. So wanted to make sure that we called that out specifically. But at the same time, being mindful that these are high school kids that have had a lot of success, and it's very hard to get up each and every week and play to your best. But I also think as adults and as coaches, it's important that when we don't do that, that we identify it, we talk about it, and then figure out a way to improve and move on. So that being said, we certainly did what we needed to do. I just didn't like the level of intensity and consistency enough in all three phases. And there's plenty of examples of on film that we addressed yesterday with the team.
I think the reason that you hold that standard in part is to be your best every day. And I guess in reality, you look forward here. And on Saturday at 3 o'clock, Roman Catholic comes in, and they were the darling for the first half of the season, statewide in a lot of ways, with how they challenged themselves out of league and out of state. Now they have lost a couple of Philadelphia Catholic League games, including one to St. Joe's Prep, but you have an extremely talented Roman Catholic team coming in, and then another St. Joe's Prep rematch coming up after that. So let's start with Roman Catholic. What do you see on film when you look at the Kalites, and what challenges will they bring?
Yeah, so the first thing I look at is, they're very talented in the skill positions. They like to go up tempo. They have a lot of skill at the receiver position, the running back position, and then their quarterback is phenomenal. Defensively, they have a lot of athletes. They like to bring pressure. They like to play on film. It looks like a lot of man coverage, which tells me they feel good about their athleticism and their ability to play man coverage. So we certainly know the talent that Roman brings to the table. A second piece of that is if you just look at recent history, they've beaten LaSalle 3 out of 4 years. So I know that has our players' attention. It certainly has our staff's attention, and making sure that, for as successful as the season has been leading up to this point, we need to be playing our best football at this time of year. So that's why I was a little bit ticked off, if you will, Saturday, because I know what's coming this week. I know what's coming in the future. And if we want to make a run at this thing the way I think we have a chance to, how we played Saturday isn't going to get it done. So we got to get locked back in very quickly and know that our preparation really began yesterday. And then today's an important day, Tuesday, of a defensive focused practice to make sure that we lock in on all of these athletes that Roman's going to present and make sure that, we're very sound in our approach, both offensively and defensively, to handle what's coming.
You hinted at it, but I'd like to talk more specifically about the quarterback matchup. Gavin Sidar on your end has been playing as good a football as any quarterback in Pennsylvania. And Samaj Beals now has the city passing record, is as decorated perhaps as any quarterback in the state at this point. And so I'm curious as to your thoughts on that matchup. I think we know at this point the challenge that Gavin Sidar brings to an opposing defense. What challenge will Samaj Beals and his ability to sling it provide for your defense?
Yeah, Samaj is very talented, as I mentioned. He's got a very quick release. He can make all the throws. As far as, so from a defensive standpoint, we have to be able to get pressure, and then we have to be able to hold up in coverage. And those are things we're, especially yesterday and today, we're making sure that we have a plan for. As far as Gavin goes, Gavin pretty much for the whole year has just done what's needed. I think if you look at, we don't talk about statistics around here. I think you mentioned some of the statistics that Roman has. I think one of the things working against Gavin candidly this year is how good our defense is. And because very few teams in certain games have been able to score a lot of points on us, if you look at the last 3 to 4 weeks, we haven't played much in the second half as an offense, or if we have, we've been, ball control and try to get out of there. So I don't look at the statistical comparison. What I know is I feel really good about Gavin's decision-making, how he's handled this entire year. And we know that it's going to be two really good quarterbacks in the city playing on Saturday. And, it should be an exciting game.
I'll just add a little bit more color for your defense since you're not focused on statistics, and rightfully so. You guys have not given up a first half point defensively since September 14th against the Haverford School, right? Shut out Episcopal Academy, shut out Cardinal O'Hara. In the first half, shut out St. Joe's Prep. In the first half, shut out Bonner Prendergast, at the time the number one 4A team in the country. And of course, then shutting out Father Judge for the entire contest. So I'm going to give you this opportunity to wax a little more poetic about Dave Sowers, the personnel on that defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the full context of the 2024 season, what makes, I think, some of those numbers you mentioned, Bob, even more impressive is we've done it the entire year without Chris Filippo, who honestly might be the best player on that entire defense as we prepared for the season. I mean, we only had Chris for really the first half at Harrisburg, and unfortunately for him, he's had a banged up shoulder since then. I feel terrible for him. And we've done it without Julian McFadden as well, who was a starter at corner up through the first half of that Calvert Hall game. So it's a testament to Dave. It's a testament to the rest of the defensive staff. And it's a testament to our players as we've had to mix and match a number of various combinations, both in the secondary and the linebacker levels, to make sure that we're establishing depth, creating depth as the season goes on, but then the guys that are in there have to make plays. So, we have a lot of guys on defense that are kind of household names in the Dylan Clares and Jack Luthys and Jamel Williams and Justin Hawkins of the world. But then you look at some of the contributions we've been getting this year, and kids playing at a very high level, the likes of Christian Peterman and Ryan Fandozzi and Eddie Sutter before his injury and Keenan Stahl. These are all names that if you would have asked me in January, what type of role they were going to have on our defense, I probably would have said they were going to be guys that hopefully could add some depth to what we were doing. And now we're playing in the secondary with Eddie being out and now Chris being out, and Jules being out. We have guys like Trey Hopkins, who's a sophomore that stepped up and had to play meaningful minutes. Lucas Johnson's a junior who's adding to that depth in the rotation. And just making sure that, week to week, all of these guys are getting the necessary reps. And we still haven't, we still as a staff, and particularly defensively, we don't feel like we found the perfect blend just yet. And every week we go back to the drawing board, figure out what the other team's strength is, and then figure out a way to, defensively create as much challenge, both for the quarterback, the play caller, and the offensive line. So can't say enough about the job that Dave has done, the job that Troy Swittenberg's done with the secondary, Dan O'Sullivan helping out with the linebackers, along with Joe Leitner and Keith Caputo. I feel very fortunate to have those guys with us, but they're also realists and know that, as we now enter late October and into the November timeframe, we still have to be getting better in all phases, and the defense, defensively, certainly, in order to be a part of this run, we're going to need them continuing to play at a high level.
Last one for you, and you talk about rewarding those defensive guys. We've talked about the T formation, but you threw a little wrinkle in there this week and got big boy Jamel Williams. We found out that the nickname and the dance after is called Cheese. You got Jamel Williams the football, a walk-in touchdown. That was pretty darn cool.
Yeah, I mean, part of the high school football experience, and at times when you're in the week to week preparation and it's all business all the time, we got to make sure we're keeping it light and fun for the kids. And that formation that we run, that personnel group, if you will, that's generated a lot of excitement within the players, and making sure that Jamel does a great job on the defensive line, and in a lot of cases, chewing up two gaps and multiple offensive linemen to free up linebackers and to get that defense rolling. So, and then he's been a lead blocker on that for Jack and Dylan a handful of times this year. So, the idea was if we got a chance to get him the ball, we were going to do that. I knew the kids would have a ton of fun with it. I still play every week in practice when we call that personnel group on Thursdays to get reps with it. It's the fastest I see Jamel, Jack, and Dylan run on the field all week. And the kids have had a lot of fun with it. So to see Jamel score, to see the celebration afterwards, that's really what this thing's all about.
Last week of the regular season coming up. It's quite hard to believe, quite frankly. And congratulate you, commend you on the job you've done to this point. Huge game coming up on Saturday. Have a terrific week of practice, and thanks for doing this.
All right. Thanks, Bob.